Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here once again. I have thrilled today to have Sandy Chong with us, and I cannot introduce her because she's got so many things that she does, and I'm going to let her do it herself.
Oh,
Go ahead,
well,
Sandy. Welcome.
well, I'm going to come up with all these things. No, look, do you know what? I am a hairdresser. I owned a hairdressing salon. Actually, I had two businesses at one time for 38, 39 years. But my main role now is CEO of the Australian Hairdressing Council. And I am one of the original founders of the AHC. And my main role actually is really the advocacy work. We've grown to that point, but the advocacy and the lobbying and representing our industry to the government. Hairdressing, and I will say beauty as well, is one of those trades that can often get overlooked or dismissed or, not even considered when it comes to decisions by the government, by all sectors of the government. That will affect our industry. So, I guess the AHC is the voice for our industry and ABIC is the voice for your industry.
Yes. Thank you so much. That's beautiful. And inside of that, sort of that little piece that you just shared, it says so much about you. And the women that I bring, or even the men that I bring onto our podcast and also interview for, through video, I choose you specifically because really the government, the way that I see it, it isn't, we have to work with the government as much as we can, which women like you do continuously, tirelessly. But we also have to work with our industry, and we need to, we have to be empowered. We don't want to, in a way, working with the government can feel, I'm sure for you, because you've done it for so long, in a way, almost disempowering when you're not heard and you have to go through all this bureaucracy. And so how do we be more direct? This is what these interviews, a lot of them are about, is being really more direct, going straight to the heart of the issue, which is the woman that says, I'm a beauty therapist. What does that, or I'm a hairdresser, what does that actually mean? And to me, that means a lot. To me, that's a huge responsibility. How do you see that?
Look, I think probably one of the best examples I can give is, and I hate to bring it up, but the pandemic, and it became very obvious, to the government and to our communities just how important our role was. Whether you're in the beauty or aesthetic industry or whether you're in the hairdressing industry. And, I think our communities realise that we really do contribute to the mental health and also to the self-esteem and the confidence of our clients and our community. When we had a whole country that couldn't come and visit us, there was, it became quite alarming just how it really does affect mental health when they can't come and see us, because, it's one thing looking in the mirror and feeling good about yourself. That does make a big difference to how you feel. But when it comes to the government, what's so frustrating is that you can work tirelessly and get nowhere because it gets really complicated. Like there's a change of party, there's a change of minister. If a minister changes their portfolio, everything gets lost. And so when we were lobbying, for instance, to keep hairdressing on the skills migration list, there were 3 immigration ministers in 2 years. Now you go and see each of them there, and every time you've got the same story, and you really have to prove very quickly, you've got 20 minutes to show that you know what you're talking about. But when they change portfolios, you start all over again. It's frustrating. And so that's an example. I mean, I could give many what it's like to deal with the government.
Well, I'm about to share something with you that many of you are not going to know. Now, when I was 19, I actually worked for the Minister for Defence of Australia, and I was in his office where his constituency was, and I would travel and I would go to Canberra and I would go to his Canberra office because it was like such a huge role that I had at such a young age. And what you're sharing with me now is like, I mean, I got out because I realised this is unbelievable. The minute that it all shifted, That's it. All the work, everything, you're back to ground zero. I really understand what you're saying, but from an actual visceral, I can feel it in my body. I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like to actually be in that, it's absolutely 100% true. And, so for me, I was talking to the office of the Prime Minister, and, I'm at the desk and I'm picking up the phone. It's the Prime Minister's office, and here I am, 19 years old, doing this role. But the point that I'm trying to make is that is the way they have to operate. So we understanding that, how do we become powerful? How do we become more direct and go straight to the woman or man and say, hey, this is what you need to be looking at. This is what you need to know. And because, we're in such an unregulated space in Australia. Go to America, they're a little bit more regulated. I don't believe that, and I know because I train there, I don't believe that their standards are higher or even exceptional. Sorry, girls, if you listen to this, I'm not having a go. I'm saying that, or as far as brows are concerned. And I know they tell me they're not confident, they need more help. They're always looking for more training. But in Australia, we're talking New Zealand, Canada, look at South America. Europe's a little bit more regulated, but a little bit. The UK, but when you're looking at all these countries, you have to look at how regulated are we? Where are we going to go and train, and what does it mean? And how do we decide?
Yeah, and so the really difficult thing is, even if we look at education training, the entire sector in education and or training is being looked at as we speak. And if we look at the beauty industry, or if we look at the hairdressing industry in particular, because that's where I'm from, we look at the training package, which is what we learn at college to get a qualification. By the time we get a new training package, it's going to be, 10 years old or even longer. And the reason for that is, even though we did put in for a case for change in I think it might have been 2019 from memory, I could be wrong, 2019, 2020, there are so many changes in education training, and when you start to actually get amongst that, then there's a change of government. We
There you go. Exactly.
And so at the moment, there's the Jobs and Skills Councils. They've been broken into 10 of them, and then our individual councils had to get their organisational structures in place, and we're still nowhere near a new training package. It will come. And I know that beauty will be looked at as well, and as the hairdressing will be looked at. But there's the frustration of, when you look at who we actually deal with, our members, our hairdressers, our salons, those are our stakeholders, it's a bit like, what are you doing, AHC? Like, aren't you doing anything? And we could be putting in submissions, and we'll be, making sure that we're collaborating with the right stakeholders. But when we get to the government, then it becomes, it just takes time. It's unbelievable. There's so many, T's to cross and dots to, I's to dot, and it just gets complicated. The AHC was involved in something not long ago, and actually a government person said, you know what, the AHC gets shit done. And it's because we're small, so we can make decisions. But when it comes to government, there's so much consultation and also ticking of boxes.
Yes.
Which often is just ticking boxes, that it's very difficult to get change.
So then when we say to go direct to the professionals, how would you suggest, Sandy, that someone that's looking for a course, and now we have all these different courses, we've got all these people that are training. Now you don't really, in Australia, I mean, it comes down a lot to also, I think, to the ethos of the trainer, right? You're dealing with actually the integrity of the human. Across the board in the world, if you look at the world as a whole, that is all we're dealing with all the time. We're dealing with the integrity of a human. So you have trainers that care so much, they over-deliver, yeah? They do everything they can. But in there, you're going to have a mix of everything, because we are human beings and we are a mix. So how does this one woman that really has got the best intentions, if you look at what a beauty therapist actually does, she's one of the most beautiful people in the world. She's a giver, nurturer. She wants to nourish other people and make them feel good. Like, that's just so beautiful. Like, I think of that and I just think, what a beautiful human being to even consider that. I think that if you stick to that, And don't make it about money, because money comes wherever that lives, right? But in a way, the sad thing is that she's often like finds herself in this dilemma of paying all this money to do a course, and it's terrible, and she hasn't learned. And like, what is your suggestion? You know, how to, because we spoke about it before, there's certification, and then which everyone loves to give out. I don't. I said that to you. I told you that. I don't do it on purpose because I don't believe it's about the certifications on your wall. You can buy certifications, right? That's what people do most of the time. It's about the results that you yield to the client. That's what grows amazing businesses. Different to a qualification, but even the qualification becomes complicated, right? Because you're dealing with humans again. So how does someone find her way, or his, in this chaos that we're in?
I think that the thing is, and remembering that digitalization has changed training as well, you know, because many are learning by YouTube. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not. But when we look at education training, so if we go to, you know, if you're an apprentice, then you obviously get your training from the business owner and also the institution being the RTO. You've got certified training and also enterprise training. So certified training is like yourself, in the sense that you're an independent trainer, and then enterprise training are the bigger companies in our industry. It'll be the, you know, the suppliers like L'Oreal, Weller, Aveda, etc. They're your enterprise training. The problem is, though, is that when we look at institutional training, if we look at hairdressing alone, the course for an apprentice has 154 assessments, and which equals 660 hours in assessments. Okay. Now, the problem with that is that every RTO is bound, they're tied by compliance to only deliver that way. They don't actually have a choice, okay? And so, you know, with their regulator being ASQA, it must be done that way, which is why some students feel, and some salons feel, that their student, their apprentice or employee comes out and they're not commercially salon ready. And when we look at that training, so we're after change, because what's permanent about your industry, my industry, is change. You know, we just don't stand still. We don't like that. But we do need flexible opportunities for our apprentices when it comes to that institutional training. So the training comes from what must be done, which is foundation skills, and then commercial salon ready skills with an institution that's regulated. So that is an RTO. But then for upskilling, and because a company like yours and a company like anyone who is an independent educator, so you run your business as you want. So in other words, and yes, there are some rogue people out there, but because you can make decisions really quickly and you don't have to wait for 10 years for something to change that you're allowed to change, then it means that you can upskill an industry and you can do it really well. So you can be an independent educator, or as I said, like an academy certified training, where they may or may not give a certificate. Is that a qualification? No. And then there's the enterprise training, which is slightly different. The thing, when we look at the best learning experience for any individual, there's a lot of talk at the moment about having skills passports, because experience, mileage, training, being ready to confidently take on clients and their problems as well, and be able to problem solve from a technical point of view, comes from a whole lot of different training platforms. So the best learning experience for an individual is to go and source them. Don't just stay with one. And definitely, you know, find out word of mouth, where are the best platforms to work from. I think digitalization, being YouTube, is good and bad. We actually are supporting a program at the moment called Project Barber, but we've introduced a wraparound program with about 80 videos and resources and podcasters and part of it's elevating education. So there's snippets to give, you know, quick tips when it comes to barbering, everything from how to wax the nose, that's a good one, to, you know, obviously how to fade what you know, sort of clippers to use. And so education should come from a number of platforms. The question is, though, which are the right platforms and which are not the right platforms, because there are a few rogue bodies out there, exactly what we were talking about previously.
Yeah, and I think that that's great what you're doing. I mean, I would say with YouTube, if you get your information about brows from YouTube, I think you should not just throw that in. You know, there's someone on TikTok at the moment, because my social media team was telling me yesterday, teaching people how to laminate their brows at home. Now,
Right.
you know, it's like the beauty professional right now is in a space she's never been in, and hairdressers, ever before. in the history of our industries. And
well, you offer so many more services now. I mean, you go back years ago when I was an apprentice. Well, that's, you know, like that was in the dinosaur days. But, you know, you didn't have those specialists for eyebrows. You didn't have, you know, specialists who did eyelashes, and you didn't have specialists who just did waxing. There was just, I remember going to my salon. I mean, I've always gone to a beauty salon. You know, for me, I love it. Like, I love my facials. I love the old-fashioned actually massage.
Me too. Yeah.
And I always
I'm
have
with
my
you.
eyebrows done. Oh, I know. I just, you know, I love that. I always think I look younger when I've had a massage. I know that's all in my mind, but I'm sure I do when I walk out. But, you know, they didn't offer the services that your industry does now. And the services that your industry does now are amazing, but I can understand the frustration of the lack of regulation, but also the concerns around who's actually teaching some of the people in your industry.
Well, yeah, I think, look, I can only go by what, you know, the beauty professionals are telling me. I'm not making things up, right? It's not like I sit there and I just, you know, I'm sitting and I have a little, close my eyes and think, oh, what can I make up next? I mean, I'm actually getting the direct experience of, you know, dollars lost, thousands of dollars. You know, we're talking almost up to $20,000 to go and learn something that you're terrible at. And then because you spent that much money, you go and do it anyway. So you're going against your own heart. I mean, that's a pretty serious thing, right? So this is not unusual. People don't realize how common this is. And to me, I think there isn't an easy solution to this. It's not an easy solution, but it doesn't mean it's not possible.
No, and so when someone's undergone training and they are unemployable they've spent a lot of money, but they're unemployable because they don't actually have the mileage, they don't have the experience, and they don't have the confidence. And, you know, consumer safety is really the concern here, okay? And, you know, the really difficult thing is in hairdressing, it's only mandatory to have a qualification in South Australia, New South Wales. And we have addressed this with other states. We've spoken to various government bodies and organisations or departments in those states, Safe Work Australia as well. But the hard thing is, you know, they just see red tape and they avoid it. And yet, you know, having a mandatory qualification encourages completion of apprenticeships, completion of qualifications. It means that RTOs are, you know, they are accountable, responsible, you know, and answerable to a regulator. But, you know, those that do attend some of these courses as well, who may be qualified but are not really as capable, you know, sometimes if they end up not being employed and they do things on the side at home, then there's concerns about the black economy or the cash economy, et cetera, et cetera. Then there's concerns about insurance, et cetera. In 2010, hairdressing and cooking was used as a backdoor visa. And we had over 300 RTOs delivering hairdressing. Now, ASQA, which is the body that regulates them, you know, really went in and closed down on cowboys. And there's roughly around 92, give or take, colleges in Australia that deliver hairdressing. And I know, unfortunately, we do need to have those regulators, but they do not regulate the non-RTO businesses, the academies.
So if you can imagine that, you know, the ones that actually can qualify are doing the wrong things, you can imagine what's going on out there with people that don't need to do that. And it doesn't, you know, it really does come down to the ethos of the company. That's what you need to look at, and you need to. I mean, I would only say, really, like, so I can say it with a guarantee and with certainty. Go and speak to the owner. Go speak. Go actually and have a conversation with the person that's going to train you and feel into it. Like, this is the thing that women have to get better and better at, because we've got so many feeling centers. Like, we're such intuitive, amazing human beings, but we don't use a lot of what we have. You know, it's kind of like, go and speak to someone. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. Where did you train? Who trained you? How long have you been a coach for? How long have you been training in lashes for? How long, you know, can I see a portfolio? Doesn't mean just because someone does a nice brow or a nice set of lashes that they know how to train you.
No, that's right.
You know, and it's like, just because someone can do something pretty and someone can go, oh, that looks great. And, you know, like for us, one of our biggest things is that if you look at brows, and you look at the way brows are presented on social media, they're always on the side. Have you noticed that? Do you know what that covers? All the mistakes. And if you go to TrueBrow and you look at the reels that we share, they're all faced on. And there's a reason for that. because it's the brow. You've got to look at what the brow's doing to the face of the woman, not what it looks like.
For me, it frames my face.
Yeah.
And if my brows don't look right, I don't feel right.
But it changes your face, Sandy. It changes your face. It actually can make you look angry, it can make you look old, it can make you look harsh. Like the brow is sadly so not considered. The other day someone told me someone had, and I mean someone very high up in the industry, someone had 20 laser brow removal treatments.
Oh, I don't really understand that. What I do know though is I do sometimes look at eyebrows and it makes me look confused.
Yeah. But can you imagine that that's a thing?
Yeah. I can't figure out what they're doing and why. Do you mean? I mean, I love a beautiful brow, but I do think that very few people can actually do a beautiful brow. So I think I'm after recommendations from you as well.
No,
because
I'll send
it's
you
hard to find someone. It's difficult to find someone who can do a beautiful brow, not just wax them all off or do the wrong shape. Or I found very few people listen to me when I get my eyebrows done. So I'm after your recommendations.
No, I will. Don't worry, I'll look after you. But one of the things I want to say is this: that how does the brain, I mean, at the moment I'm completing my advanced course online. I was doing it yesterday. I love doing it. No, it's so hard to find the time, but it's one of my, saying to Toby this morning at coffee, when we're having coffee, it's one of my favorite things to do is to write content, because I love being able to share something so powerful with someone that can change. It's got so much leverage. You teach one person properly, the effect and the impact that has on so many women. This is where our industry is insane. It's so amazing. We're so impactful. We don't get it. And of course, the opposite is true. We can do something, learn it incorrectly, and do so much. We can do things that don't work for so many people. So we've got to be careful. It's a huge responsibility. So I was saying to him, I love writing the content, and I was doing that yesterday, and it was just the most unbelievable thing, because I was up at a section where I was talking about how the brain learns. You can't take a brain and go, I'm going to fit the brain into how this makes me the most money and it's the easiest way. That's not, brain's not going to, it can't retain the information. So Toby and I have done so much research on this, and that is why we've set up our training the way we have. It's mastery based. Forget it. You don't get a certificate. I'm not going to get you to pay me. It's like give me $2,000 and I'll train you, and then I'll give you a piece of paper. No, I'm not doing it. I'll go train somewhere else. Well, good luck. Off you go. Right? It's fine. I'm just not for sale. What I want is to change lives. And for me, that's hard work, Sandy. Because of the way the brain learns, I've had to do live coaching classes for the last 10 years. At one point, I was doing 5 hours a week of my week. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. But I've seen you on stage before, and it was really, you were amazing with your husband as well. And I have also seen you Greek dancing on your Facebook page.
That's my favourite thing.
I can't Greek dance because I have to count the steps. And so I'm so busy looking at my feet going 1, 2, 3, kick, 1, 2, 3, kick, 1, 2, 3, kick. And then there's one where you count to 12 where you cross your feet over and kick. Wow. Yeah. Well, I can't count that, and I'm used to it. So I'm so uncoordinated, and it really comes out when I Greek dance. I'm a very bad Greek dancer, but I do love that when you do they tell me to remember what it's called is watch the telly. So it's when you shimmer.
Oh, yes, the shimmering thing. Yes.
Yes, the girls do it. They do it. And they do it. And I love watching the men with the handkerchiefs too.
Oh, yeah. I grew up in a Greek family where the Greeks, they bliss out with alcohol, let's be honest, right, and Greek music. And I grew up in a family that left their country. So, my parents left Greece in 1953, went and lived in Australia, and they still had Greece 1953 in their DNA for the next, over 50 years. And it was like, hang on, guys, I think it might have changed back there, but they were still living that.
Yeah, but I don't know how you're not fat, because I just go eat more, eat more, eat more, eat more. And I have to admit, I hate the lemon soup, but everything else I will eat more. I can't get my head around the lemon soup. And
Which one is it? The chicken lemon and egg?
soup. I don't know. I don't like it, but I love everything else. And I try and eat the lemon soup, and then it's like eat more. It's like I don't want any more, but I just everything else. But
Greece is beautiful.
I love the way all the aunties think their desserts better than the other auntie.
Oh, yeah, of course. Actually, where we're living right now, because we live on top of the city, like I have to walk. Toby and I walk 12 sets of 16 sets or 12 sets of stairs with 16 steps, something like that, to get to our house. So you can imagine the heart's just going, wow, she's turning 60 today, 60 this year, Elle, but she's just walking up those stairs.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
But
my knees would give way.
We went for this really long walk on Saturday. My brother was with me, and we had lunch, and it was ages away. Took the dog, and I just ate so much bread. I just thought, you know what? I'm overloading on carbs today. I don't even care, because normally I don't eat starchy carbs at all. I follow the Rosedale diet, and I think it's fantastic for every woman. The anti-aging diet, I think it's great. And
I need that diet.
I'll send you. Ron's actually a friend of ours.
Yeah,
he's amazing. Yes, I'll send you the book. I talk about it all the time. I should talk about it more. I think every beauty professional should be giving it to all her clients, actually. But I ate all this bread and this lamb, and oh my gosh, it was like I ate so much, and I was so happy. And then I walked all the way back home. So then that was all good. But I'm not a sweet tooth. That's my thing. I don't register. Yeah, I don't really eat sweet things, and I think that's been a saving grace for me, because I don't know what. And I think this diet actually really switches off that in your brain. It's amazing.
I have a very bad sweet tooth, and I love ice cream.
Well, you love Greece. You have to come and visit me. Come for a holiday.
They have the lemon charcoal, but I love ice cream. I have ice cream every night, and I have a very sweet tooth, which is really bad.
Well, you just keep that up. If you love it, you do it. Until you can't do it anymore, if that ever happens, you just enjoy it.
No.
Sandy, I love that we've had this chat today. And what I would like to say is that it's very hard, I believe, and I don't normally think things are hard. I always see things as opportunities. But in what's occurring right now, and the way that influencers and celebrities are telling women what to do, and people are, endorsed to promote things without really thinking, it's kind of like we have to find, if the beauty industry finds the place inside their own heart where it's woman first, client first, client first, client first. You're there to contribute. You're there to serve. You're there. Use any word that works for you. I used to remember saying the word serve, and I thought, I don't like it. I'm contributing. But now I don't care. It's like I'm there to serve. I'm there to help and to be of help. We need people like you. You are extraordinary in what you do. And Toby and I just adore you. And we're always watching you on social. I know you're not dancing, but you're doing a lot of other things. I just throw the dancing in every now and again for a bit of fun. But I think that women like you are a real testament to the women that want to sustain our industries, because they're so important. And I think every time I remember when I won Educator of the Year in 2018, which seems like, it's so long ago now. I remember writing that speech just in case, because I hadn't written anything. And Toby and my executive assistant who was with me, she said to me, they said, have you written something? And I said, no. And they were all late. They were both late. Mind you, they made me late to the actual event. And they said, I think you should write something. And I thought, oh, really? And I thought, all right then. And she was having a bad hair day, and I don't know what Toby was doing. And I just sat down, and I couldn't think of anything else but to write about the beauty professional and how important she is, and the hairdresser. Like, I go to a hairdressing salon here. I have to tell you this because this is just beautiful. From the minute I walk in to the minute I leave, even when I use the washroom, the minute I'm at the reception and I'm paying, I feel $1 million. Like it's an experience. Everything, the way they touch your hair, the way they wash your hair, They don't sit and talk to me about my whole life. And that happens just a little bit in the beginning. And then the rest of it is this caring. The work is fabulous and unbelievable, that I love going and giving my money. I wouldn't, how much do you want? Every single week I just go. It's like, what, there, just take it. Right? But I leave feeling unbelievable. Like that's a piece of my week, a part of my week that I won't give up.
And see, I guess for me, that's how I see anyone that joins your profession or mine. No one starts as a beauty therapist or as a hairdresser and goes, I'm going to make all this money. The reason they join is they love everything about the industry. The end result, of course, is the fact that you make people feel really good at themselves, and their visit with you is often their escape from reality. Okay. What I love about the hairdressing industry is the inclusiveness. And being part Chinese, I was really bullied at school. And, when I first walked into the salon where I did my apprenticeship, it was the tribe and the vibe, the music, the fashion, the noise, it was colourful. Okay. And I really felt embraced. And I think that as a client, that's what we do. We embrace our clients and we wrap them in a cocoon of trust where they can just escape for a bit for themselves. And so when they walk out, they feel really good about themselves. And whether it's in your industry, the beauty industry, the aesthetic industry, whatever, and the same as in the hairdressing industry, well, that's what we do. In our hearts, that's what we do. It's all about caring for other people and looking after them for that short time that we're with them, so that they have, they feel better about themselves, but they feel like they've had that little escape, from all the other stuff that's happening in their world. And really, that's why we join our profession. The money comes after. I always believe the more you learn, the more you earn. And the more that you invest in yourself, the more you earn as well. And what you do with that money makes a big difference too. But ultimately, it's all about, we love our work and we're very passionate about what we do.
We truly are a people industry, and I think that has to be number one. And sometimes when you look through the Facebook groups, which I try and avoid as much as possible, but I also know I should go in there. But I
love Facebook and I hate it too.
I know, it's like
social media. The negative stuff that's on there, or the way people can get attacked, or and I find that it can be quite damaging. But on the other hand, I keep mine because I like to connect with people overseas. In fact, I've got a lot of friends overseas and family that I don't see so much, and that's what I value out of it. But I don't value some of the stuff that, the negative stuff. People gravitate to.
Well, I think it's the narrative. And I think that just before we finish, there's something probably important to cover. At the moment, there are salons, both hair and beauty, that are thriving. We know that. Thriving. And you go into the Facebook groups and someone starts a narrative about the economic climate. As a therapist of any kind, because even if you're a hair stylist, hair designer, and they go in.
They know more about you than your friends and your husband.
Right. And then that's true.
And your lover.
Exactly. But the thing is that, they get caught up in the narrative inside of some of these groups. And that's just a narrative. And for me, everything, like I said earlier, is an opportunity. I never think of the economic climate. I tell my girls, I did a video actually inside of TrueBrow yesterday in the education group, and I said to them, if you're stuck in that narrative, you're not seeing the opportunity to bring in a whole new level of client into your salon, because there are women out there ready to pay for what they want. Like we solve pain points. That's what we do all day. If you find your ideal client and you can solve her pain point correctly, she will pay you. She will find the money because she needs you. And it's kind of like, in a way, we've lost our way. A lot of people have lost their way. And some of these Facebook groups, I go in, and I think, why I don't like going in, to be honest. It's not because I'm afraid of being attacked, because, I know people attack me anyway, thinking I don't know. But, I read patterns. I don't even have to, I just have to close my eyes and I know who's doing it. Don't worry.
I get attacked. I've been attacked many times.
Well, you know what? I think anyone that attacks you it really has to deeply think about what are you doing? Like this woman is gold. But anyway, so I think for me, it's like I go in and I see, oh my gosh, this is a world I don't live in. No, I don't live in this world. And it sort of like highlights it for me. And I have to go in and just, I really think there is a purpose for going in, because we can just land something new and authentic and real for the women that want to hear it. And those other voices, they too might get something at some point. They might one day have a little aha moment, or maybe I could think like this and I don't. So, you know, I mean, but how much time in the day do we have? This is why these interviews are so important, because we can spread them out and say, listen, girls, listen to a different narrative, listen to people like Sandy who, how many years have you been in the industry?
You know, I've been in the industry for over 50 years and I've worked full time for most of that. But, you know, I'm a true believer that you create your own reality. And, you know, some of the people that do comment on those pages, you know, they're very unproductive. And, you know, I bought a salon one time in Paddington and all the staff walked out, and there was one day where not one person walked in the business. And I don't know if you know how humbling that is when my Newcastle business was actually, you know, pumping. But you have to become resourceful. And I think a lot of people are not resourceful nowadays. You know, we talk about resilience. It's not resilience. You need to be resourceful. And I was in my 40s, late 40s, and I was knocking on doors. I was literally knocking on doors and going into every shop around me and introducing myself and creating reasons to come in. And we did a whole lot of free work for fashion houses and lookbooks, photography, everything. But I was working 6 days and 4 nights, and you know, sometimes you have to put yourself out there. And I think that's one thing some don't, you know, and they go on those pages, and as you say, they talk about, you know, the economy. And yes, the economy does certainly, you know, the economy does affect the cost of running a business and etc. But there are other factors as well. But I also do believe that you have a choice to create a better reality for yourself. You just have to really, you know, think differently.
I agree. And you know, when you have a narrative and you go looking for other people with the same narrative, you've got to know you're stuck. You have to, it's got to be like alarm bells going off in your awareness, and you have to like immediately go, right, I'm off here, I'm out, I can't stay there. Don't stay there. That's all I can say is don't believe yourself and don't believe others. Really look at the people that are thriving at no matter what, even when there's difficulty. They're the ones you put them on a pedestal once you've checked them out and seen that they have good values. And
you surround yourself by successful people and try and figure out what they're doing that you're not.
Exactly.
Rather than, you know, talking to all the other sort of whingers. And so it's like, oh yeah, we're all good because everybody else is whinging too. It's like, no, go and find the ones that you were just talking about, the ones that are thriving. And what is it that they're doing that I'm not doing? And you know, and it's like when someone is really productive or there's an incentive and they meet the incentive, they do something differently. Yes. And then when they're not productive, it's because they're not doing something anymore, you know. And so sometimes we forget that we're actually accountable and responsible for our own reality. And, you know, I'm a true believer of that.
I love that, Sandy. That's so beautiful. We're on the same wavelength with that. And I think that, you know, we do have sacred choice here in this life, and our life is precious, and what we do with it, how we use it is just so profoundly important. And we do leave imprints on our souls by our choices. That is like just, you know, if who doesn't know that, you better go find out about that. Ask me, I'll tell you, don't worry. But that's, you know, every decision we make it just isn't that simple, you know. So do good things. I'm going to continue finding amazing women like this particular woman here. I'm just absolutely so happy with what we spoke about. And there's more, I think, Sandy. So if you would be kind enough to give us more time at a later time, we'd love to talk about something else. One takeaway each time that we can bring to these beautiful girls and men, sorry. Keep forgetting that.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Leave us your comments. We also want your questions. Bye for now.